Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of TechTalk Dudes. As usual, I'm here with my partner in crime, Ronnie de Jong, and today we're going to talk about a really new, awesome feature which is available within the Microsoft Entra portal. Isn't that right, Ronnie?
That's true, Pim. And again, the pleasure is all mine. So everyone, welcome to this other episode of Tech Talk Dudes. And yeah, that's true. It's a quite buzz around the identity space, and it's not only for rebranding or renaming Azure AD to Entra ID or Entra in general, but it also comes with some new capabilities and new features. And one of them is global secure access, which is actually a secure service edge solution, which gives you some capabilities to access remote resources, on-premise resources, or even cloud resources with certain extra layer of security. So I'm happy and excited as well to share a bit more about that.
Yeah, it's indeed a great new feature. I had a look at it myself already. I think it's also more security related feature than particularly an identity related feature because it relates, of course, um, to your network access and the access you can get within an environment.
Yeah.
But I'm curious though, because I know there are different types of solutions within the secure service edge solution of Microsoft. So maybe it's good to start from there and to explain to people what are the different options, and then maybe deep dive into one of them.
Yeah, that's a good proposal. I will share my screen to start with a little bit of distinction and background of the solution. What you mentioned, the security service edge, it actually takes two. Actually, are two capabilities. One is the intranet access, and that's actually all the SaaS applications or the M365 applications you're federated with, which you can enhance with an additional layer of protection. And so normally you have your endpoint and then you have your browser and accessing through the web, through the internet, the open internet, you're connecting to the various web services. But between your endpoint and to the service edge, there can be a lot of things going wrong, whether it's the man-in-the-middle attack or other kind of spoofing things, which attempting to get your credentials. And of course, we have a lot of great features like strong authentication, multi-factor authentication, passwordless signing. They're all good, but even more you see that the bad actors enhancing their capabilities also, where you're talking about token theft, it's also becoming more and more complex and challenging to keep up with it. So getting back to the two solutions, so the internet access is actually more securing your traffic, your connectivity with the SaaS applications. The other side, it's known as the Entra Private Access. And the Entra Private Access is actually bridging the connectivity to your endpoint and to your on-premise resources. So if you have a lot of companies are still hybrid, and they do have on-premise resources, that they do have an Active Directory, they do have file shares, they do have all line of business applications. And usually we are connecting them, connecting on-premise with, for example, a VPN solution. Of course, we have many VPN solutions. We have always on VPN. You have Microsoft Tunnel, but that's more in a traditional approach. And with the Entra Private Access, it's what it's also known as a zero trust network access. And there, with that, we are actually leveraging the capabilities or the features which are known and which already present in our ecosystem. So we do have conditional access policies which requires you're coming from a compliant device and you have a valid user account, etc. And this is taking all these controls into account and use that connectivity to your on-premise resources. So that's actually, in short, what Security Service Edge is.
So to summarize, actually you're saying with the internet access part, I can prevent bad actors from gaining access to my environment via, for example, token theft, attack in the middle phishing, or whatsoever else. Because my main, if configured correctly, of course, my main policies would require a connection to the secure service edge solution of Microsoft. And for the private access part, we're looking not at the cloud resources, but the more like traditional resources, either hosted within, which could be hosted within Azure, an on-prem data center, or a public data center somewhere else, which I then can expose in a modern way, secured with conditional access and even continuous access evaluation, for example.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And a lot of companies are also revising their current infrastructure, aiming to raise the bar when it comes to security, taking into account all these security controls, which are part of that zero trust principle. And that's what zero trust network access allows us to do. And yeah, that's actually a huge uptake, a huge interest what I'm experiencing myself in the field. And yeah, I'm also happy to share and give a demo about how that look like from an end user perspective. And if that's right with you, then later on I will also show how that is achieved by configuring it in the backend there.
Of course, that would be great for the people who are watching, at least to also see some things within portals and user experiences, because that's all what we are here for.
Usually, seeing is believing. So I prepared already some things. So what we're seeing here, this is an Windows 11 workstation. It's in this case an Azure AD joint endpoint, and that's one of the prerequisites to let secure private access work. It comes with an hybrid Azure AD joint or an Azure AD joint endpoint, and it requires also an agent. So I already installed the agent here. You can see it's active, and there are various stages. Well, it's taking benefit of single sign-on, so I'm automatically signed in. I can pause it, some prerequisite checks, but yeah, let's have a look at from a user experience. As mentioned, it allows me to connect to my on-premise infrastructure. So in this demo, I have an infrastructure hosted in Azure, so I have a couple of VMs. And on these VMs, I have an infrastructure where my web services is running, Active Directory, and so on. So that's actually mimicking the on-premise infrastructure, as you can see here. These are my resources. So in this case, I have a web server where I'm hosting an EAS web server, which is actually not accessible from the internet. It's only internal facing. And I'm using this server where I actually taking benefit of the web application proxy agent, because that's where this technology is built on. So in this case, I have my endpoint here, and as a regular user, I'm opening my Explorer. And in this case, I want to connect to my file share, which is a file share hosted on my web server. So by double clicking on it, you can see I'm accessing now the file share.
That's a funny folder.
Yeah. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And yeah, of course, this is the way how we're rolling. And this, I already prepared some things, but I can now create a folder which takes some time. Meanwhile, it's a kind of a slightly latency, but it's because I am connected with that agent. So when opening this agent, you can see here what is functioning. So here you see the status of the agent and also the name resolving, what's going on, what's happening on that client. So later on, I will show you that. Another example is what I mentioned. I published the web server, which is only accessible from internally, so not from the internet. So if you're using this URL yourself, you will notice you will not able to access this web server. So this is also because we have the connectivity to my on-premise infrastructure. And let's have a look. You see here, it's already resolving it. You see, this is the agent, and it's resolving the resource to the on-premise site, because there we have on the other side, we have the web application proxy running actively. That's actually how it works. Another thing.
So in simple words, the global secure access client, or the secure service edge solution client, has a connectivity with the Microsoft backend. Microsoft backend can access the web application via the Azure the application Entra ID application proxy. Sorry, and then from there is able to connect to this web server, because that proxy server is able to reach that web server.
Yeah, normally most people know the Entra ID application proxy services because it allows you to publish in a reverse proxy web services. This is actually building on top of that same technology, but not longer limited to web applications or protocols. So you can publish everything what's on premise. There are some limitations. As of today, TCP protocols only are supported. UDP is not yet supported. Well, things will evolve. It's also still in public preview. Yeah, let's also, I'm just as an example, I'm now connecting to the same server, providing my credentials. And you see here also the absolute name of my on-premise web services. Well, it's now being published as web, but this is the real of my server. And now I'm connecting it as it if I have a VPN server for connectivity or VPN client using. This is all bridged by that same secure private access client.
Oh, this is amazing. So this means that basically any kind of TCP port is able to be published via the Entra application proxy server.
Yeah, exactly. So this is from an end user perspective. So how that looks like from the backend perspective. Well, you see here the Entra portal. Within the Entra portal, you have the global secure access section. As mentioned, we have two entry points here: the internet access to publish or make the connecting to your SaaS applications on a more improved, enhanced, secure way, or the Entra Private Access. Well, we already configured that for this demo. And what you see here is a snapshot of which resources are published. You'll see also the destinations which I was accessing from my clients. Well, in this case, I have a demo environment with only one client. And one of the things, you have to install the private access client on your endpoints. Right now, it's only supporting Windows 10 and 11. And as you can see, the mobile is also coming, but that's not yet there. So the Android client and the iOS client will be expected, but that will be later on this year. I'm not sure when. Here you see also the definition of the configuration. In this case, I use the fully qualified domain namespace and including the ports of the resources and services I want to access. So you can see here name resolving, HTTP, HTTPS, SMB, Active Directory and other things, RDP, for example. So if you have that particular applications with certain protocols, then you can define these here. And you can also do it on IP, or you can also an IP block. And this is just my representing the full network. I can also publish these line of business applications per application. So you can also distinct an entire on-premise or a remote location, or I can publish it per resource. So I can also assign these resources and assign also particular conditional access rules to it.
So in short, basically, of course, it's still in public preview, and we of course don't know how the licensing will work for this feature. But in short, if you want to replace your VPN solution with this particular solution, you would start with quick access, which would then be a single app containing wildcards, IP subnets, port ranges, and then eventually you're saying move to a per app based access model so that you can strengthen your security based on those users who need access to a particular resource instead of having them being access provided to anything, like with what's today the case with VPN.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's a replacer of VPN, and the strength of it, and that was meanwhile you providing the voiceover and summarized it. If you noticed, I paused the client, so I paused the private access client, and the private access client represents if you're coming from a compliant or trusted network. Well, in the case of pausing it, so I'm not anymore on that trusted or compliant network. And one of the controls I have also in my conditional access policies that I'm requiring that you are using the private secure access client coming from a private or a compliant device and accessing your on-premise resources. And even to establish the tunnel, you can also add additional requirements before establishing that connection that you are doing that from a compliant client. So here you see also the strength of using zero trust to the steroids based on conditional access in this scenario.
Yeah, which is of course really helpful because this requires you to actually use that particular client and the connectivity to the global secure access solution of Microsoft.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is making sure that token theft and attack in the middle phishing you won't be exposed for that risk anymore.
Well, that's a complementary benefit, not it's that's a serious benefit. Not that important given these days.
Exactly. I'm just wondering, there are two different options in conditional access. Maybe as a last question, which I bumped my head on for a while. You have the option to use. You mentioned use the compliant network location beneath the location section, of course, and you have the option to use a particular action within conditional access. So instead of that, you would be selecting an application. You are able to select the global secure access solution to what the policy applies to. Can you maybe explain a little bit more on the differences, Ronnie? Because I think more people have questions around this matter.
Yeah, that's a good one. So what I showed you was also starting where you're coming from a compliant device and where we already established the connection to our remote location. That's actually the private access client. But what you mentioned, a step before, is actually a preconditionary to start the client. And one of the new capabilities, and I'm showing you here as a target resource, normally you apply a conditional access to an application or other resource, a user action. But in this case, we are able to select the global secure access client. And here you can also make a distinction that you are requiring that access to client to access your M365 traffic, for example. So that can be an extra, or use it as a preconditioning to start the remote client. And after that, you have the client active, then you can also access your on-premise resources, for example. And you see here, I can select the M365 traffic or other traffic potentially I could select here. But that's actually the distinction we can make here.
So in short, to summarize, for within the target resource, we can target a global secure access solution for in your example, the M365 traffic profile, meaning you could, for example, require a compliant device for using that particular traffic profile, and then your tunnel from the client could be set up to the secure service edge solution. And once that tunnel is up and you want to access Exchange or SharePoint or whatsoever, you would say, I require a compliant network. And if you're not coming from a compliant network, just block the traffic, making sure that you always use that same. So basically, you would need 2 conditional access policies in that example.
Yeah, actually one conditional access for the precondition and the second policy to enforcing that you're coming from a compliant network. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really sometimes these two can be confusing, but if you read through it and you played around with it, then it's becoming clear. And this is also why we actually covering this subject in this tech talk, just to try to provide some more clearance and an explanation how these can be used.
Yeah, maybe to wrap it up a little bit, what would be an easy step for organizations to start POCing this within their own environment? So let's say I want to use this within my own environment. Where should I start? How can I quickly start seeing the benefits of this product?
Well, actually knowing which resources you want to access. So what is the use case here? And which kind of endpoints you're coming from, what resources I want to publish. So you have also a good understanding of your network layout, because you need to also have the Entra ID app proxy client as part of this solution, or part of the secure access solution. Well represented in your network. It should be routable, so the resources behind you want to access must be routable, and make sure that you have availability. So the groups you're defining, that you have multiple connectors, also mostly from an availability perspective. And then it's quite straightforward, making sure that your clients will receive the endpoint required now as of today. And then the final thing is setting up it by configuring some policies, associating the connectors to the right test group, making sure that the users are also assigned with the right policies and conditional access policies. And then it's a straightforward approach.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good starting point for the persons who are watching this video. Well, thanks a lot for doing for presenting this to us and providing insights on that new secure service edge solution which Microsoft is offering, available in the Entra portal. Thanks, Ronnie.
Sure. It was a pleasure. It was an honest pleasure to really like this kind of solutions and talks. So I'm very curious and looking forward already to the next talk. And let's keep up the good work, and happy Entra.
Happy Entra. And for now, let's hope to see you again next time. And bye bye.
See you next time. Take care.